So, what does it take to survive when it feels like the whole world is hunting you? Today, we're going to break down a story that is just a masterclass in tension. We're going to explore how this powerful bond becomes the ultimate weapon against, well, pretty impossible odds. Let's dive right in.
Okay, right from the jump, the story hits you with this incredibly powerful hook. And look, this isn't just about painting the picture of a jungle, right? It's about setting a tone. It's telling you, straight up, that the beauty of this place is tangled up with its danger. This one line, it's basically a promise of all the tension that's about to unfold.
All right, let's start at the very beginning, shall we? The author here doesn't waste a single word. I mean, the very first paragraph is all about building this world that feels, well, it feels both alive and deeply threatening, all before any real action even kicks off.
And what's so cool here is how the author just pulls you in by hitting all your senses. You can almost feel that heavy darkness, right? The thick humidity. You can practically smell the wet earth. And then you get that line. Predators stirring in the shadows, and boom, that hits a primal nerve. So from the get-go, you know the jungle isn't just a place. It's an active threat. It's a character in itself.
And then, into this super dangerous world, we meet our two protagonists. First, there's John. He's our human connection to the story. He's alert, sure, but you can tell he's vulnerable. And then you have Bruno. And just listen to the words used for him. His muscles tensed. He's already on high alert. This contrast right away sets up their entire dynamic perfectly. You've got the protector, and you've got the one who needs protecting.
Okay, so let's see where this goes. That simmering, atmospheric tension we were just talking about, yeah, that doesn't last long. It basically explodes into the story's first huge conflict. This is the first real test of their will to live. This is what we'd call the inciting incident. All that vague, lurking danger, it's not vague anymore. It suddenly becomes a very real, very physical threat. You know, the anaconda attack is the exact moment the story flips a switch. It goes from just suspenseful to an all-out, desperate fight for survival.
And just watch how fast this all goes down. The anaconda lunges, and John, our human guy, he freezes up. He stumbles. It's Bruno's pure, raw animal instinct, that fierce leap that stops it from being a total disaster. I mean, this wasn't a fair fight at all. This was a flat-out ambush, and instinct was literally the only thing that stood a chance.
So the big takeaway from this whole first encounter is crystal clear. Bruno is not just a pet. He's the classic guardian, you know? The character whose whole job is to protect the hero. This one moment completely solidifies his role for the rest of the story. Let's be real, John would not have made it past this first test on his own. No way.
But, you know, getting away from one snake, that's just the warm-up. This is where the author really turns up the heat, escalating the danger in a brilliant way. We go from a single, visible threat to this feeling that the entire jungle is closing in on them. The hunt is well and truly on now. And just like that, the pace just takes off. They're not being careful anymore. They are flat out running for their lives.
Twisting and weaving through this tangled mess, where everything is working against them. Vines are grabbing at their clothes,
and roots are trying to trip them up at every single step. There's zero time to think, it's just pure reaction. It gives you this breathless, panicked feeling that puts you right there with them in their desperation.
And this is where the real terror kicks in. See, the anaconda was scary, for sure, but it was a known threat. They could see it. But this is something they can't see, an unknown hunter. And we all know, the fear of what you can't see is always, always worse. This line just captures that shift perfectly. So this relentless chase, it pushes them right to the edge, to the story's climax. They get to a river. Now, in most stories, a river might mean hope, right? A way out. Nope, not here. The author brilliantly flips that on its head and turns the river into the final and maybe the most terrifying challenge of all.
I mean, just look at the choice they have. It's the classic rock-in-a-hard-place situation, but turned up to 11. There are literally no good options here. If they stay, they get caught by whatever's hunting them from the shadows. If they try to cross the river, well, it's filled with snakes they can actually see. It's a perfect picture of a total no-win scenario.
And what happens? Once again, it all comes down to their teamwork. John makes the gut-wrenching call to dive in, but it's Bruno who saves the day. Again. A snake lunges for John, and Bruno, without a second thought, creates a diversion. He draws the snake's attention to himself just to buy John those few precious seconds to get away. It's another incredible, selfless, purely instinctual act of protection.
Okay, so they've made it across the river. They're safe, for now. let's take a breath and step back for a second to really look at the central theme of this whole story. Because it's not just about what happened, it's about why it happened the way it did.
And it all comes down to this one single word from John at the end: together. That's it. That's the whole point of the story right there. It's like the thesis statement. The author has spent all this time showing us how they survived, and now John just comes out and tells us it wasn't one of them that survived, it was a shared victory.
And this is why it worked. Just look at how they stack up side by side. John, he's physically vulnerable, but he's the one with the human intellect to make the tough, strategic call to cross that river. Bruno, on the other hand, is the powerful protector, running on pure instinct, who saves John's life, not once, but twice. They're two halves of a whole. They complete each other perfectly.
So here's the key lesson, right? Survival here wasn't about one of them being strong enough or smart enough on their own. Not at all. It was about combining their strengths. It was about the absolute trust between them that let them work like a single unit. In the end, that unbreakable bond they had, that was way more powerful than any weapon they could have carried.
And that's really the heart of it all. The action is thrilling, of course, but the real message, the thing that sticks with you, is how they survived. It's a story about partnership, about loyalty, and about the unbelievable power of a bond between two completely different creatures.
Which kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. This story makes a pretty strong case that survival isn't just about being the strongest or the smartest. It's about something deeper, a connection, a bond. So when you're faced with just overwhelming danger, what is it that truly guarantees you'll get through it? Well, the powerful argument this story makes is that the answer is not having to face it all by yourself.